selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you'll do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie. I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Matthysse, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Yes, what is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio. Hope you like the show, subscribe, share it, tell a friend and tell a friend. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube before the end of the month. And obviously, we just killed it this last weekend. Basically doubled our viewership on almost every platform. So I just want to quickly say salute to everyone out there that's listening, that's supporting. You guys have definitely made this past week very interesting and a lot of fun. And this past weekend, obviously, was just something to talk about. Quickly, shout out to Rob Gotti, Robitsky, Real Nija, Wayne, and Potential Lunatic in the chat. What is up, everyone? And this will be one of the few shows where MMA will be in the beginning. I know. Shots fired at me. For all you boxing fans out there, I deeply apologize. It's just MMA was the thing this weekend. It just was. Look at the traffic I had on my tiny, little channel, so to speak, and it blew everything out of the water that I thought it was going to get. I thought I was going to get maybe if lucky, 10,000 on the live fight chat. We got almost 15,000 on that alone on YouTube. So again, shout out to everyone. You guys are a part of it. So we're going to break that down first. So anyone that's just a boxing fan, I do apologize. You'd have to sit here and listen to all of this, or you can wait till I cut up the show on YouTube exclusively and then watch it back. Just the boxing portion of the show on YouTube. Again, exclusively if you want to do that. But digressing, because we have a lot to get into. This event, UFC 226, I'm not going to talk about UFC Fight Night, the tough finale. It just, I already talked about it ad nauseum, I feel like. But this whole Brock Lesnar versus DC super fight that we have now, I really want to get your thoughts on it, because I've seen a lot of back and forth in the community, in the fandom, about this matchup. I've seen a lot of people hate on it. A lot of people hate on the post-fight antics between the two, the WWE-like antics. I see a lot of people approve it. I see a majority of the MMA media approving it. I see the MMA fandom 100% split on the matter. I don't know what my audience is thinking, so I really want to get you guys' thoughts on it in the live fight or in the live chat on YouTube and in the comment section below. Definitely let me know what you think. But it is one of those matchups to where we know it's going to make money. We know it's going to be 1 million plus pay-per-view buys. And I think even people that are hating on it are going to tune in or at least pay attention to what's happening. I don't want to talk about the fight right now as much. But just, again, salute to Daniel Cormier. Because he looked fantastic. Let's digress to the actual card itself. Because the antics, we have Wayne in the chat saying it looked staged. I understand that, and I think it kind of was. Well, obviously, Lesnar knew he was going to get called in. They obviously told Daniel Cormier to do it. Joe Rogan gave up the mic. He was told by the production crew, "You let this happen. It's going to happen. This has been talked about." I think whatever we want to say about that matchup, DC right here put on a fantastic fight where it probably put him at least in the top 10 of all time. MB saying, sorry, UFC casual here, but is Brock Lesnar well respected as a UFC fighter? I think he should be. I think he's a former UFC champion, like UFC heavyweight champion. He's not everyone can say that they've been a UFC champion. Brock Lesnar can. Brock Lesnar's beat guys like Frank Mir, Randy Couture, highly respectable names. And yes, he's lost to really good names. He came back and beat Mark Hunt, about 2 years ago now, pot for PDs, and has had his issues, which a lot of people, sort of criticize this entire situation because of that. And for those that have been listening to me for any period of time, that I'm not the biggest PD enforcer or activist, so to speak. That's not my idea. I think we need more PD regulation reform than anything else. So I don't decry the match. I think Brock Lesnar is a fantastic fight, for Daniel Cormier. There's really no clear heavyweight contender right now as well. Brock Lesnar coming off of a 18-month plus layoff. I think even though it is a layoff, it's still Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a freak athlete. Brock Lesnar went undefeated his collegiate senior year as a wrestler. He is that good. He could have gone to the Olympics, but he decided, no, I'm going to go get the bag from Vince McMahon and the WWE at 20 years old, and then came in 10 year plus later and became a UFC champion, and then had basically colon disease, and that stopped a lot of his forward progress. And then he's been back and forth from the WWE and UFC ever since. I think this, in terms of athletic competition, this is an intriguing matchup that should get some level of respect. I think DC should be the favorite, but Brock Lesnar is one of the best wrestlers to ever be in an MMA, period. And so is DC. So that makes it, quite interesting, and, probably going to negate that. We could see a Cain Velasquez, Brock Lesnar 2.0. Who knows? But I think the matchup's going to do great numbers. For all the people that were shitting on the UFC for not having good pay-per-view buy rates as of recent, this is going to do that. So I hope you all shut up, because now they did that. This is what it takes to do big numbers on pay-per-view. It's not the great matchups we think it is. Don't be surprised when this event comes back with a relatively low pay-per-view buy rate. Don't be surprised if this is below 500,000 pay-per-view buys. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But again, digressing to the event itself, UFC 226, and my review of it, Daniel Cormier came out, and I thought he looked a little bit flat. I thought he looked a little bit anxious in there. I saw some out there put out the narrative that Stipe quickly entered the game of Daniel Cormier, the clinch and initiating the clinch, and that led to the downfall of Stipe Miocic in this first round knockout. I don't know about that. I don't know if I echo that, because I've seen very smart, respectable journalists in this industry say that, but I don't view it that way. I thought Stipe was landing a few 1-2s that were landing well. I know DC has come out and said he felt like the power wasn't there, and that's why he felt like he could just start fighting that way. I don't buy it. Again, just me, my personal opinion. I don't buy it. I think Stipe was landing great shots. He was not necessarily out-grappling Daniel Cormier, but he was definitely putting Daniel Cormier on the defensive. putting up against the cage, making him wear his weight and his mass. I think Stipe played an excellent game plan. But, like I predicted in the preview, Stipe often leaves himself overextended and outstretched. And he did that when they were close in the pocket. And then Daniel Cormier brought in a right hook that just leveled Stipe. A few follow-ups, and Stipe was out. Fight was over about 45 seconds, a minute into the fight. I think Daniel Cormier is one of those guys where I've said it a lot. He is probably the second best fighter ever that's born in the same generation as the best fighter, and also in the same generation as the best fighter, which is John Jones. You could have George St. Pierre, maybe Anderson Silva in that mix at the 1 and 2 spot. I wouldn't decry that. I think John Jones' run at light heavyweight was much better than George St. Pierre's, but again, you may disagree. I'm not going to argue it drastically. I think George St. Pierre's, again, top 3 or 5 of all time. But Daniel Cormier, I think, cementing sort of his legacy. He needed this. Like even if he comes, let's say, off a Brock Lesnar win, that does a lot, especially for his bank account, let's be honest. But it's not as much as beating, let's say, Steve Miocic, who was on this run at heavyweight. I think for us hardcores, this meant more than a potential Brock Lesnar win. Let's say even with John Jones coming back in the next 9 months to a year, and John Jones fighting Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight belt, even though I think that's an intriguing fight, especially at heavyweight, John Jones is probably the favorite, and he probably will win that fight. But I think this still cements DC's legacy as something special. For those that want to criticize DC for everything, he did this. He jumped up a weight class and beat the best heavyweight, or one of the best heavyweights of all time. That means something. So just again, shout out to DC. Great job. Great right hand knockout. Curtis saying, I'm assuming this is in order, Curtis, of 1, 2, 3 for the best of all time. John Jones, Anderson Silva, and Hoist Gracie. And then Amit Singh. I hope I pronounced that right. Saying John Jones, hands down, GOAT. I agree with that. Throw the PDs out the fucking window. Who cares, right? I don't care. But quickly, I just want to make note of the purses for the top guys on the card. Steve Miocic making almost $800,000. Daniel Cormier almost $600,000. Anthony Pettis almost $350,000, and then Derek Lewis almost $300,000. Definitely not, big paydays. I remember seeing a lot of boxing fans just based off the show I'm doing that are not really new to the UFC and follow me on Twitter and stuff like that, and see my opinions on the matchup as it was going, or at the live fight chat, saying, wow, I'm shocked that they're making this little. Boxers make so much more. It's true. Boxers at the very top make significantly more than UFC fighters at the very, very top. But just want to point out that sort of factoid and that stat. But moving on to the co-main event, Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. I know Derek Lewis has come out and said that he had a back issue, and he's had one for quite some time, so I sort of forgive him on that part. And Ngannou was just gun shy the entire fight. He threw 2 punches the entire fight, I want to say. I don't know what to make of it. I think it was really bad matchmaking. I think they should not put Francis Ngannou against Derek Lewis that soon after his first loss. He needed a tune-up, and they did not give him that. So I think it's very unfortunate. And I really don't know what happened for either guy going forward. Derek Lewis, with his back injury, is he still even fighting? Remember, at one time he retired from the sport due to this injury. So I don't know if we're going to see Derek Lewis fight somebody else at the top, maybe a Verdum or an Overeem, and then fight for the title next. I have no idea. God knows. But just want to point that out there. Next fight that we're going to talk about, Anthony Pettis versus Michael Chiesa. Anthony Pettis showing just a knack for resiliency. Like he was, I don't think he was looking that good. I think he still doesn't look like he's in complete 100% shape. He still looks a little bit shot to me, but he landed a beautiful, beautiful right hand on Michael Chiesa, rocked him, and then followed up with an amazing, amazing submission, a triangle transition to an armbar. Beautiful shit. I really am glad that Anthony Pettis got this win. I didn't want to see him sort of go out as this guy that had this massive potential and then just nothing really happened after one loss in his title reign, basically. But shout out to Anthony Pettis. Again, great performance. What up, Fighter IQ, a.k.a. Ron the Mastermind? Check out his channel. And he's also featuring on TBV. Shout out to you, man. Shout out. Next fight on the card, Mike Perry versus Paul Felder. Mike Perry winning a split decision, splitting 29-28 scorecards, the piece. I thought Mike Perry, even though he wasn't landing more shots, he was landing the better shots. He was, I think he showed composure. I think he showed better cardio. I also think that he showed an improved boxing technique. I think he kept his shots way more compact, a little more fundamental. He wasn't sort of overextending and lunging into these shots. He was staying under his base and throwing these heavy, heavy hooks. And again, throws great elbows on the inside. I thought Mike Perry showed a lot of improvement in a fight that I was, again, picking against him. If you watched the preview show, I picked Paul Felder, and he looked, again, it was close. I think you can argue a win for Paul Felder, but Mike Perry probably should have won it, and he did, so salute to him. Showed improvement. A move to Greg Jackson's and Mike Winklejohn's gym in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I think is doing wonders for Mike Perry. I think he needs sort of a guiding hand in his game planning and in his training. And he needs refinement. And there's really no one else better in the MMA game like a Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn for refining someone's game. So salute to them. And quick shout-outs. I'm not going to go through every other fight, but quick shout-outs to Khalil Roundtree Jr. for knocking out the hype train of Gokhan Saki, one of the best heavyweight kickboxers of all time. Khalil Roundtree knocking him out in the first round in under 2 minutes. Huge upset. I'm not going to say I called it, but I did mention that Khalil Roundtree has a massive path of victory against Gokhan Saki. Saki showing just unathletic sort of talent, I would say, and not really being prepared. Khalil Roundtree looking like a guy that was prepared, athletic, explosive, fast, that could have given issues to Saki, and it did. And Roundtree knocked him out with a left hand and down the pipe. Beautiful shit. Paulo Borrachino Costa defeating Uriah Hall. Borrachino just being one of the most devastating punchers in MMA right now. When he throws hooks to the body, that is picture-perfect, technique-perfect punches and hooks to the body that you can take to any boxing gym and any great coach in boxing and say, is this perfect technique? And they will say, yes. Wow, he can go and do a little bit of boxing with that style. He can. He is that good. Shout out to Rafael Sunsao for winning against Rob Font, Draco Close versus Lando Venata, Chris Melender versus Max Griffin, Dan Hooker getting the big TKO win against Gilbert Burns, and Emily Whitmire versus Jamie Moyle getting the victory. Shout out to all of them. Great night of fights, even though we had that awful co-main event, but great night of fights. And quickly, I want to say, John Jones obviously can't be quiet when his biggest rival just got the biggest win of his career, saying, just keep in mind that life is a journey and not a race. If it's in God's will for me to still be here and healthy, please believe that there'll be many more fights to come. Let's not forget, I'm still the youngest guy in the top 5 at heavyweight and light heavyweight.
I want smoke!
That's John Jones. You know how it is. And quickly, just to wrap up the MMA news before we head into boxing, the charges were dropped against Volkan Ozdemir in this felony battery case, so his fight with Alexander Gustafsson is seemingly completely a go for the April 4th card, I want to say, in L.A. And also, Corey Anderson filling in for Ilir Latifi versus Glover Teixeira at the UFC Hamburg card. Love that fight at 205. I think it's a good fight. And if Corey Anderson wins that, he should get a big fight next, even though that is a pretty big fight. But moving on to you guys' favorite sport, I would say, or topics, boxing. Because most of you, of course, are following me from TBV. Manny Pacquiao versus Lucas Matthysse are now on ESPN+. I don't know if I predicted this, but I was talking about it a lot, that ESPN Plus was probably going to get it. It makes the most sense, just because it is a international card in Southeast Asia. It would be difficult to sort of get it in a time slot on regular ESPN. And plus, ESPN wants to sort of put great content on their channel. So why not put this on ESPN Plus, especially after the Terrence Crawford, Jeff Horn fight? It makes complete sense, in my opinion. And again, another sign that ESPN Plus is really sort of putting a lot of premium content on their network. And I think that fight's this weekend, yes. So we're going to be reviewing that on Wednesday, same time as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. So stay tuned for that. Another piece of news, Mr. Kell Brook himself, he was sort of, not really rumored, but a lot of outlets were reporting that he was removed from the WBC rankings because he no longer wanted to do the VADA clean boxing program. He came back and said, today, so many people asking me why I haven't signed up to VADA. Well, here are the forms which are getting signed and sent in today. Hashtag clean sport, hashtag VADA testing, hashtag UCAD anti-doping. And I really want to point that out, that I think a lot of people were forgetting that this is an athlete that is VADA tested year-round outside of the clean boxing program by the WBC. And I don't know why people are forgetting that. I think it's just selective memory, let's be honest. Maybe it's just ignorance, whatever it is. But he was already being VADA tested. And it is what it is. So now he's going to be double VADA tested. I don't blame him. He had to do this to stay in the WBC rankings, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that UCAD is not enough. UCAD has done historically more than the clean boxing program under the WBC. And UCAD is way more impartial and way more independent from the entities of the sport, such as promoters and networks and such, like the WBC. So, but that's a whole can of worms that I don't want to get into because I know I'll be fucking ranting and raving. Shout out to a little bit of a nostalgia right here. Lennox Lewis and Vitaly Klitschko having an exhibition at the WBC convention. Speaking of the WBC, I think it's a little bit interesting news. I hope they stream it or they show it. Because for all those that are not really throwback fans, because I don't know does that count? Do you have to be a throwback fan to know that fight? Is that enough time? It's been 16 years since that fight because of 2002, I believe. Lennox Lewis fighting Vitaly Klitschko. Very controversial ending of it because Klitschko had a massive cut. They stopped the fight. He was up on most people's scorecards. It is what it is. But I think it's kind of cool that they're doing this little exhibition thing, especially since both guys have gone on to do really good things post their career, especially Vitaly and what he's been doing in the Ukraine. So salute to him. And it should be fun to watch. Speaking of another Ukrainian, Vasily Lomachenko, saying that he's going to return August 25th, a.k.a. next month, after shoulder surgery, even though his doctor said he would come back to training in October. I don't know what to make of this. Lomachenko, what are you doing? Don't do that. Don't. I had a similar surgery with the torn labrum and arthroscopic surgery on my shoulder. That's a long recovery time. If you're Lomachenko, he had that, a couple months ago? It's been 4 months of recovery, maybe. There is no way he can take a world championship fight at August. I hope somebody, his dad, Bobby, whoever it is in the back is saying, Vasily, it's okay, man. Just sit down. I know you're in the mood.
I want smoke.
No, Vasily, no. You got to settle down. Okay, like you got to tell him that, because there's no way he'll come back in August. There's no way. Even though he is saying that, I just want everyone to realize that realistically that is not happening. So just want to point that out there. Another sort of known, not foreign fighter, because we're even though we're a US show, I don't know, bad segue. But anyways, Sora Rungsvi, aka Kit Kat Bar, defending his title on One Championship October 6th. He is fighting for a non-title fight, I believe this week or next week. I forget when it is, but he's fighting for a non-title fight in Thailand, I want to say. And now he's fighting for defending his championship on One Championship card. One Championship is, for those that do not know, is a MMA promotion that puts on MMA fights in the Asian market, basically. So interesting that they're now going into boxing, especially with this sort of caliber of an opponent, or not opponent, or name, I should say, or client. I think big move for One Championship. Interesting to see Sora Rungsvi make this alliance. Really curious about what happens in the next, let's say, 2 years for him. If he will stay on the One Championship sort of platform. Can't wait to see how that materializes and what happens with that. But interesting sort of cross-promotion for him with the different sport. You're going to see a lot of MMA sort of coverage for him. And I think that would do good for him. I think that would be something that he maybe not will need, but the MMA community really appreciates and I don't know, has accepted Asian combat sports more so than I would say boxing U.S. fans. Just maybe make that very grandiose claim right there. So I think a lot of MMA fans will latch on to a guy like Rungsvi, who throws hard shots, great southpaw, has the sort of wins and resume he has. You can sort of really play on that if they know how to promote it, for sure. Speaking of, what did I do? Speaking of, I don't know why I do that. But anyways, digressing. Sergey Lepinets saying he's moving to 147. I don't know why he's doing this. I think this makes little to no sense. I know he's not getting in the World Boxing Super Series. I know he's kind of upset at that. He's been all across social media ranting and raving about basically not being asked to be in the tournament, even though he wanted to be on it. I don't blame him, but I think 147 is a really bad move for him. Like, I don't see him winning against anyone at the top. Like, I don't see him competing well against even guys like Danny, who gets a lot of criticism. I think Earl whoops him. I think Keith whoops him. I think Terrence Crawford has a field day with him. I think Jeff Horn is too big for him. I think a lot of guys would beat Sergey Lepinets at 147. At 140, I think he gives guys like Regis Prograis a really interesting, fun fight, to which I would want to see more than a Sergey Lepinets against any of the top 147 pounders. Hell, even a Jose Ramirez versus Lepinets fight is vastly more entertaining and interesting to me than Lepinets versus a Lamont Peterson, a Crawford, a Spence. Like, that doesn't do it for me, just being honest. Elias in the chat, what's up, Elias, saying September 8th, Matt, DSG versus Porter. Yes, I saw that it was moved back. Is it official, though, for September 8th? Did it just get announced while I've been on air? That won't be surprising. But that fight was supposed to happen, August 8th or something like that? I'm not surprised they're moving it back because they haven't announced anything. But it's definitely going to happen. I think there's no way that fight does not happen next. For those that are concerned that it's not happening, that there's going to be some DSG sort of ducking here, I think that's not the case. I think they're just trying to get everyone paid, basically. But moving on, Sullivan Barrera versus Sean Monahan, basically the battle of the basic brawlers at light heavyweight in play for August 18th. I actually really like this fight. I think Sullivan Barrera should be the favorite, but that should be a fun fight for as long as it lasts. And I think it would definitely be a fight that I think HBO will probably pick it up and throw it on some sort of card. But I think it'll probably get no traction. Like, no one will watch it. But I think it's a good matchup. Like, for that division, that is a really good matchup to make. And speaking of that same date, Alfredo Angulo versus Gabe Rosado rematch. Yes, get hyped. I'm so funny. Same date, but that's going to be with the Red Hook Promotions. I have no idea. It's going to be in El Paso, Texas. But yeah, just want to point that out. Fighter IQ saying that would be on Facebook. Oh, that's right. The Sombrero fight would be on Facebook because Main Events made that deal. Good point. Thank you, Ron. Man, that's a really bad fight to put on. Because that's Main Event's like first quote-unquote main event on Facebook, right? Because Golden Boy's first with the Joseph Diaz, Jesus Rojas fight. The Kovalev fight, I believe, is on HBO. So this is Main Event's first fight on that platform. I don't know if it really does it for them, to be honest. Elias ain't no point in that fight. I think the point is really to get Solomon Barrera a knockout win against a easy opponent that he can knock out. Like, let's be honest. Like, we know that Johnny Monahan cannot win that fight, but I think we all know that Solomon Barrera needs a good win and a good highlight reel knockout to sort of get back into the picture of a sort of bloated top of the 175-pound division. Because, you got a lot of guys that are just there, like a Better Beef, Bivol, even Kovalev. Like, these guys are just there. There's really no one that's at the top that's really being the best guy, except for maybe Adonis. But that's about it. Curtis saying, what happened to Chavez Jr. versus Rosado? LOL. What happened to Chavez Jr. period? Like, come on, let's be honest. That guy is nowhere. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's been your daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share the show. Go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to support your favorite channel. We'll be back tomorrow, obviously, for another daily edition. You can find us on all these platforms right here at Mixed Combat Radio, basically everywhere. Matt Hunter MCR, if you want to find me. Email us, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com if you want to help out with the channel in any way. But yes, have a good one.